Hi, my name is Julia M. Spencer. I'm a real estate advisor, investor, and your number one source for real estate advice online. And hello from fabulous Las Vegas. Yay! I'm actually filming this video right here from inside the Venetian. They have a really beautiful walkway that is very, very similar to the real thing in Venice. And I did actually take some pictures at the same location here in Venice a couple of years ago, but unfortunately those videos didn't really turn out very well. I'll still put them on YouTube. There's some audio issues, so you can see me, but you won't be able to hear me. But anyways, this is very close to the same thing, so hello again. And in this video I want to talk a little bit about something that's probably going to just blow you out of your water more than anything, because it's something I learned on this trip. I'm actually here with a friend of mine from California, one of my graybeard investors, my mentors that have taught me a lot of what I know, and we have been going to auctions. In fact, we've been going to auctions every single day since I've been here, and I am leaving, going back home tomorrow, so this afternoon I'm off, and I'm just walking around shopping and eating and buying stuff and looking at the sites, so it's very beautiful. There's gondolas down there, and I actually have pictures of myself in the Venetian canals in the real thing with my mom and my son just a couple years ago, and right there looks pretty much the same. Pretty amazing. So let's talk about this little caveat I'm gonna throw into your road here, unfortunately, which is something I learned. I think I'm obligated to share with you, because if you don't know this, you might get yourself into hot water. So in all my videos and all my ebooks and audiobooks, I always say that if you buy tax sale foreclosure properties, that you're not responsible for the mortgage, unless there's a couple of states, of course, that have exceptions. Arizona as well as New Mexico are two of them. But actually there's another caveat, unfortunately. So as I learn these things, I bring them to you, and as I learn more, I bring more to you. It's kind of like we're learning these things together. So this is what my graybeard investor has shared. Of course, he and another one, actually, they're doing this full time. They have a lot more years under the belt and a lot more money to go around as well. So they, of course, much more experienced than I am. So I'm going to just share with you what I learned. So apparently not all mortgages are the same. Of course we knew that, but there are some mortgages that are underwritten, I guess, by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and these are two organizations I've talked to them about in my radio shows. So if you want to go back to some of my radio shows, I talk and explain what they are. But basically these organizations, federal organizations, underwrite mortgages and guarantee them, and thus makes them a little bit difficult to deal with when you come to tax sale foreclosure. Now when you purchase properties at tax sale foreclosure auctions, be it deed or lien auctions, doesn't matter, I always have taught that you are not responsible for the mortgage. However, if the mortgage is underwritten by a federal government organization, then you just bought yourself a tax lien or deed from a from a state government organization, which makes you lower in seniority than a federal agency that underwrites the properties. So if the mortgage loan has been federally backed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, there is what is called a conservatorship. I had to write that down, conservatorship, and I'm going to research that online as well, and please do the same thing, let me know what you find out. But it's called a conservatorship in place, which means that you can't quiet the title on those properties. And now just what does that mean? That means when you buy a property at a tax lien or tax deed sale, and there's a mortgage on it which is backed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, there's a conservatorship in place. It's been law for about 10 years now or so, but just recently the courts have been made aware of this, and basically this conservatorship prohibits you from foreclosing on those mortgages. Now, normally they're usually foreclosed anyways, but in this case, they're conserved, they stay in place. So even though you bought a tax lien or a tax deed on a property, if it has a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae loan on it, that loan is not erased, and it doesn't matter what state this is. Now, the reason I haven't taught this before, and I was trying to figure out why I didn't catch this before, it's because in Georgia we have escrow accounts. We have laws for mortgage companies to establish escrow accounts, and these escrow accounts automatically collect on your payments and then additional funds, which are then used to pay for your taxes. So a lot of the properties that I buy don't have any mortgages, or else had mortgages and never paid off. So I never had to worry about there being a mortgage in place, because 9 out of 10 properties that I buy in Georgia, I don't have to worry about this. So the way to avoid this whole thing is try to buy liens and deeds in states that have an escrow account requirement on mortgages. I'm not quite sure how you can find out about this, but I would always encourage you to do your own research. Of course, I'll do the same. So what does that mean when you can't quiet the title? If you can't quiet the title on the property like that the mortgage just stays in place. Basically, you're going to be responsible to pay that mortgage, or else you're just going to have to wait and see what happens with the mortgage company. Now, the mortgage company can go and foreclose on you as the owner of that tax lien or tax deed, and quite frequently they do that, although this takes a lot of time. My gray bear investors here recommended that in those cases that you should just try to bleed the property. That's the exact term they use, to bleed the property, which means just take possession as soon as you can and rent it out, and try to get as much rent out of it as possible before you lose it to foreclosure by the mortgage company, even though you bought the tax lien, tax deed. Now, you can do this in the states where you buying a tax lien or tax deed gives you possession rights right away. Where I'm from, that's not automatically the case. You have to borrow redemption rights, and of course, if somebody's living in the property, it doesn't matter. You'll have to do an eviction no matter what state you're in. So there's a couple legal steps in this, and it gets a little bit more complicated, of course. Now, let me tell you what happened to my gray bear investors, because they have inadvertently purchased some of these properties that had mortgages that were backed by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And what happened is, of course, my gray bear investors aren't shy and they have money, so they went ahead and sued in court, in local court, and this is here in Nevada, obviously we're in Las Vegas, to get ownership of these properties, basically arguing that a tax lien or deed is senior to a mortgage. Of course, they lost because the judge ruled that a federally backed loan, even though it goes through somebody who, a private mortgage company, but it's federally backed by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, that you are still responsible to pay those loans, and they are not automatically erased. They have then subsequently taken the matter to Superior Court in the state, in Nevada, and in pretty much all cases have lost. I think one time he said to me that they actually did not lose is when they were able to, they were trying, of course, to work every angle, so they found out that the actual deed recorded, the book and page numbers didn't match what was actually recorded on the mortgage itself, and it didn't match the property, so they were able to finagle around that, because the Superior Court just threw it back to a lower court. It just kept on going and going. You can see that this court case could drag on for years. Now, as long as you as an investor make more money bleeding the property in that process, attaining all the rent that you can during this court time, and have possession of the property, then you're still in the profit zone, because you have to pay your lawyers, and the longer the lawyers work on something, the more expensive the cases will get. Now, how do you know if a mortgage is on the property, and how do you know if it's backed by Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae? Well, that, my dear subscribers, is going to be a subject of another video. I will also add that to one of my future audiobooks. There's a really easy process, actually, and I'm going to check it out myself first before I start teaching on it, so I don't tell you something wrong. There's a really easy way to find that out. It requires a little bit more due diligence, a little bit more research, It's going to be added to some of the other steps. It's actually part of some of the steps in due diligence that I already cover, but I haven't covered this specific step. But I'm going to add it so you'll know. Now, there's also a couple of things that you can do to kind of help yourself along the way in this process. Of course, you can rent the property as much as you can during this court process. You can strip the property too. I'm going to describe that in another video as well. And you can negotiate a deal with the bank. How do you do that? What do you ask for? All of that. Topics of future videos, because we're going quite a long ways already with this one. It doesn't fit. But I just wanted you to be aware that not all mortgages are the same, and you got to watch out for those Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae ones. And that, my dear listeners, is the end of this video. I'm going to show you where I am. Gorgeous place here. I'm going to try to get a drink somewhere, non-alcoholic, mind you, it's still daytime. And I hope you have a great day investing. Make sure you subscribe at my website, bottom of this video right here, and tell your friends, share my videos, subscribe on YouTube, and I look forward to hear from you investing successfully very, very soon. Have a great day.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.